All right, so we have this portrait that I worked on yesterday, and I want to make sure that you notice a few things. First of all, we have our pal right here. You can see that actually this is, it looks like Justin Bieber's sister. You can see that there are definitely some changes. We're missing facial hair. We also have a lift to the jaw. This jaw is very squared off. We're missing some very pronounced eyebrows, and we have some things that are a little bit more delicate. And I want to show you basically how you're going to accomplish some of those things and just a few more tools to make that happen. I'm going to go to my background layer and I'm going to Control J it, or whatever my most edited layer is, the layer that has your face on it, because you need a copy of it. So we're not going to start off with a blank on this first tool. This first tool is a tool that some of you have used on accident and wonder why it doesn't work properly. It's called a color mixer brush. It is a really important tool when you're blending values together, or in this case, when I want to make the skin look a little bit more airbrushed and even sort of blend away and get rid of stubble or some other minor imperfections. Couple of really important things that you have to do to work with this. Number one, if you have any color, anything at all, color-wise, it could be blue, and I'm gonna flip them and I'm gonna put pink. As I'm mixing, you're going to see I'm depositing some of that pink. You can see it a lot better here, though, as I'm working the blue into there. Basically, think about this as what color is on your paintbrush as you're blending it. So, I want to get rid of that again. Control Z is your best friend, and if you went more than one click, go back in your history and find what you need there, okay? I want this color to be sort of a nice medium to brighter part of the skin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the eyedropper. You guys are not as familiar with the eyedropper, and I want to make sure you see that. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tools down. Click on the eyedropper. You may also see some of these tools out there. Just make sure you just regular plain old eyedropper. I'm going to go to the skin, and I'm going to get sort of a part of the color that's on the cheek. Okay? And because there's no blank space in here, I'm not going to worry about my background color. If I had an open area, I would worry about my background color, like a transparent area, but nothing's transparent. You go back into your mixer brush. You're going to go ahead to a softened brush. You want to make sure that there's no hard lines on it. Again, it doesn't have to be zero. It can be kind of low. That's perfectly fine. And let me zoom in so you can see. I'm going to go right here. Instead of trying to figure out some way to get rid of them, let's just blend them away. And what you do is you click and you I sort of clicked one time and scrubbed in a little circle. So I click, 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 release, click, 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 release. And that's pretty much what I'm doing right here. I might go back and forth just one quick time. If I think it's too much, I may go back in there and just do it one time. It's really important that you also look up here. You'll see my numbers and what happens. If these are very low numbers, you will not see a lot happen. So you may want to mirror. Again, if it's sort of 50%, this is 75 and the mixing is 90. If it mixes too much, lower that number, okay? So that's pretty much what I did was I went through and I sort of just blended back some of those things that I felt could even out the skin tone. Look at how easy it gets rid of that stubble. But you'll notice this is a click, a scrub, and a stop. I'm not going to go through and do the whole face and work on it because I may end up doing something that I don't want to do. It may blend some color in here. Let's say I need a brighter color. Again, I might come back in here, pick up that brighter value, go back to my mixer brush, and blend that color in. Just kind of blend that. And depending on where you click, if you kind of pull it outwards, that blends that color in that direction. And again, some of the larger areas, you may want to go with a slightly larger brush. As it gets close to something, we're going to want to go with a smaller brush. You see that stubble goes away pretty easily, okay? Now, as we get into things like your eyebrows, I'm not obviously going to finish up those things. One tip, though, stay away from over blending around areas that have a defined edge, because that makes it look a little bit more fake. Instead, get a smaller brush and clean right next to it on this side, and then work right next to it on the other side. You don't want to lose your defined edges. All right, so working on these eyebrows, we're going to have a little bit of work to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the color that's like right inside those eyebrows. I'm going to go back with my regular brush, and I'm going to cover up some of that area first, okay? So I'm going to go with a, let's say maybe about a 50-ish% brush, 50%-ish hardness. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make it, it's going to look a little bit fake, but bear with me on that. You'll see that I'm going to cover up those brows. I'll leave that one alone. I'm then going to go ahead back to my mixer brush, and I'm going to sort of blend it in to make it look more believable. I'm going to click up here and pull it down to blend that color in. Again, when you click and pull it in, you're pulling some of that color from where you started the click into where you're ending that click. I might pull some of that shadow up and over. Okay, so that might be where I start off with this, and then I go ahead and I work into my eyebrows. I had a request for eyebrows yesterday. There are now eyebrow brushes loaded. There are some very masculine, larger ones. There are some very feminine, thin ones, or perhaps you like a good, Brooke Shields brow as a woman. Go right to it. You're good to go with that. So that is really the ins and outs of that mixer brush, okay? My last request for the video was, how did I lift that chin? So you'll see that that chin line had changed a little bit. You have to do this very carefully, simply because you can change it quite dramatically to a point where it looks kind of unbelievable. It looks kind of weird. And we're going to go right here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 tools down, sort of right in the middle. You're going to go ahead out, and it looks like, I don't know. It's supposed to be a finger looking like it's smudging the surface. So you're going to go out to that smudge tool. You'll notice that I'm going to strengthen about 50%, and I also have a softened brush. I'll show you where that's at. It doesn't have to be 0. It can be low. That's fine. What you do is you take that cursor. I'm at about 150 pixel brush, but again, it depends on your image. And what you're going to do is you're going to sort of push this up a little bit. Don't go wild and push it up a lot from the start, because you'll see it takes a while for it to catch up. It's a pretty sophisticated tool for this, and you're going to end up with something you're unhappy with. Control Z, goodbye. What I'm going to do is I'm going to push up here, let go of the click. Push up here, let go of the click. Notice it's just a small push at a time to see what's happening, to make sure that I'm not getting something that I'm unhappy with as a result. Okay, so that's what I can do. I can also then give a little bit of work in the lips. Let's say I wanted to make that lip a little bit bigger. Instead of pushing it in, I can actually push that out a little bit. All right, eyes are a little bit more difficult with that, so I would not suggest anything with eyes. You see I can move it around a little bit if I get too big, but moving to make a bigger eye is not a real good experience with this particular tool. There are other ways to attack that we're not going to worry about right now. But again, there was like 3 or 4 clicks right there. If I Control Z, I'm just undoing one of them. Let me go in my history. This was the last thing I did. This was the thing before. Watch my screen. The thing before that. The thing before that. And I'm back to lip territory. You saw that lip move. That's where I want to be. I don't do anything with delete, and I just put them away. All right. Again, biggest reminder, biggest downfall of your previous was not using individual layers. So let me just show you and remind you. Using individual blank layers to add those items on. If you do it directly to the portrait, and I go ahead as I'm putting my eyebrows on, I'm going to want to do that on another layer. I'm going to call that my brow. And come in here, sample a color that's going to be for the eyebrow. Go into my eyebrow. Make sure you're back on the brush. You always have to pay attention to that. Find my eyebrows and put it in. I can now take that. Let's just pretend that's the right exact one I need. Too big, too small, so I've got to go in between. I'm then just going to lower that down somewhere in between. Let's just pretend we're good. When I put that in, lovely, it's finished, it's got that, but let's say I didn't like it. Let's say I made it too big. If that were directly on the portrait, I couldn't get rid of it. Now it's on this layer, I can go to my eraser, say, oh, I just don't want to, I don't want to put that in, or I want to alter it, etc. So again, watch your layering. Try some different tools, such as your mixer brush for some nice airbrushed finish, as well as your smudge tool for some light lifting here and there. And that's it.